Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today, or joining me. We're going to be talking about controlling documentation and setting up document acknowledgement tasks. So I'll just give it one more minute if anyone's still wanting to join, and then we'll get started. Okay, let's get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. This session is really going to cover some things about making sure that we have a single source of truth when it comes to our documentation. And a key focus of that will be how to help you set up tracking for staff through the document acknowledgement feature, where they can acknowledge and show that they understand the policies and procedures that we're talking about, and that we have that evidence to share that as well. If anyone has any questions, please reach out or pop them in the Q&A or in the chat. Happy to go through them all. Before we start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet today, and I'd like to pay my respect to elders past and present. I'm sure we've all had to deal with these common challenges and risks of uncontrolled documents, not being certain that you have the latest version because documents are kept in different drives and different folders. You might be wasting time trying to find that single source of truth, which one is the right one, or there's no version control at the bottom and you don't know whether you're reading the right one, or sometimes in the audit you get picked up because there's not a really good audit trail of how we've been controlling and managing our documents. Now, Logqic Document Register transforms that entire document management process from a burden into a reliable asset. And if you look here on the right-hand side of the screen, Logqic Mobile puts your document register in your hand, anywhere, anytime. Some of the key features of the Logqic Document Register is the repository, that it is the repository for all your approved documents, ensuring that you do have that single source of truth. You have the ability to upload and link documents, including from SharePoint and external websites, and you can do that in any format. It's permission-based, so we can restrict user access for things that are sensitive and we don't want everyone to see. We maintain the archived version and all of the audit trails and the historical records. There's a workflow that manages the approval, review, and other stages of the document lifecycle. The ability to be able to link things to the accreditation register. So all of your evidence can be linked. All of the policy and procedure framework can be linked to those specific standards. And you can also link your controls for effective risk management. And with the document acknowledgement feature, we can manage user compliance and confirmation through that they've actually read and understood those policies. How do we want to strengthen the control of printed versions of our document? Now, with Logqic, some of the metadata that we usually had in our documents, like who's the policy owner, when did we publish it, when are we going to review it, all of those things, Logqic perfectly controls for you on screen and in the system's event history. So we don't necessarily have to keep all of that onto our documents any longer. But Logqic still recommends that we keep the unique document number and the version in the footer. That ensures that even when a document is printed, there is a clear and simple way to reference it back to the official document. And that's why we have that little clause in here. The version is considered uncontrolled. Go back to Logqic and make sure you have the right one. And if you've got documents that are printed in folders in different parts of the building and different offices, it gives you that clarity that the person, both people can know that they're reading the right document, because we can check what version it is and compare that back to Logqic to see if we are reading that published version. And we all know that Logqic has that document register workflow where we add the document details. And because Logic's trying to make it as easy as possible for you, if you are the document manager and owner, you can essentially go ahead and quick publish that document. Or you can send it through the workflow where the manager has that review and he escalates it for approval, or they can delegate. When do we delegate? When we've noticed that there's a small error, when we want to give someone else a quick review of that, that's when we'll delegate that. It'll come back to the manager, and until they're satisfied, it will go to that approval stage and our document will be approved. So before we go to practical example, just wanting to have a look at some of the key features of that document acknowledgement feature as well. It allows us to automate and schedule when that acknowledgement needs to take place. We can easily set up a once-off. So for things that we only need people to read, say, on induction, or we can schedule things that reoccur. So we might have to sign a confidentiality agreement every year, or we need to read the hand washing protocols every year. So we're able to set that up as a recurring event. You get an automated notification each user to notify them that they have to do that particular task. It's one-click confirmation process to ensure that the user does that. And as you'll see, it has to be that user. It can't be someone else, regardless of what your permissions are. You have the document or the quality team, anyone who needs to, has access to the consolidated report detailing how many people have acknowledged the document, which version they acknowledged, and what time and date stamp is included in there as well. And from a personal perspective, a user can go into their closed tasks and they can generate a report of all the documents that they've acknowledged as well. Okay, so let's go and have a look at that. So what I've done is I've opened a document here and I've added essentially the content to Logqic because I just wanted to, again, demonstrate that there's no requirement for that review date to be in the footer or on the document because Logqic really records that for us quite well. The area of the business that it relates to, who is managing and who's owning that. All of that information is already recorded. What I wanted to also show you is, is when we look at that document, we still included the footer information in there. So we can still see that it is Doc 197, the hand washing protocol, and it's version 4 that we're uploading to Logqic. Just to make sure that in the event that that document is essentially printed, we know that we've got the right version. And as we know, Logqic will manage that version control for us moving forward. Okay, so once we've submitted that into the workflow, that document is going to continue on their journey. We can, just as a little bit of a reminder, we can always edit our columns to see as much information as we need to about how our documents are currently being controlled. That document will continue through the workflow, and we might now choose to set up a document acknowledgement task for a specific document that we've added that we want staff to ensure that they have read it and ensure that they've acknowledged it because we want that evidence presented at a later date. How we go about that is coming to admin mode. If we have the document acknowledgement feature in our platform, it'll be there for us to set up as a feature or as a task. We want to create a document acknowledgement new instance or a new task. So we click the add task icon. And here is where we can essentially set up the task. So we want to do the hand washing protocol. I might not do that one. So we give our document group a name, the task essentially that we want people to be aware of, and the types of the documents that they're going to be acknowledging. We select the group of documents that we want them to acknowledge. And if there's multiple that they have to do at the same time, we can select all of those. We can also search and find them quite easily in that way as well. Next up, Sheena, I've just got a question, then I'm going to answer Sheena. Sheena, the document acknowledgement is something that is an add-on for clients that have had the platform for a little while, and you can add it through the Logqic store, or you can send me an email and I can make those arrangements for you. With the document acknowledgement feature, we can click for assigned users, so we can choose who needs to do that by selecting each individual user, or we can select a team. So we might have all of our clinical teams need to acknowledge that particular document or that particular groups of documents. So there we have everyone in those that are associated with those teams will be getting this task. How regularly do we want them to do that? This might be something that we need them to do every year, or it might be something that's a once-off, and then we can set it up like that as well. Let's set this as a recurring pattern. So we are saying that it needs to repeat every year. And when do we want that to be done? So we might say it needs to repeat every 30th of October. And again, we can choose a different time frame. We can say it has to happen every third Thursday, however we want that set up. But you could potentially align that with when those documents may be due for review, so that you know that next year this group will be reading the newer version of those particular documents. And we can choose to end this, but as per Logqic, the default will be no end, because we can always come in and halt that schedule. Next, we want to give them some task instructions. Oops. So you can include any instructions in here, and it could be very specific, who they need to talk to when they have any issues, what the consequences are if they fail to meet this particular requirement, or if they've only acknowledged it and they haven't actually read it. You can include any instruction in here. And that will appear when the user essentially opens that document acknowledgement task. So now we've set up the pattern. We've got to say when is the next time that they have to do this. So ideally, it's going to be in October. And how many days do we want to give them as a reminder? So we might give them that task 10 days ahead. 10 days ahead of schedule. If there's like a large group, you might give them a little bit more time. If it's something that you really need them to be straight onto, you might make that time a little less. And then we essentially save that document acknowledgement task. And now we can see there, we've got that task set up. It's assigned to 17 of our users, and we can see who they are right here, just so that you can make sure you have them set up. Hannah's got a question. Can we assign individuals as well as groups? Let's check that out. Absolutely, you can. So we can say, generally, we want the management review committee to acknowledge that particular set of documents, but we're also going to include an individual. So again, we can set up a range of different document acknowledgement groups here of tasks that we want staff to be able to do. The task looks like this. I'm going to use my filters to find it. Oh, why doesn't Rachel have one? Because it's upcoming for her. Okay, I'm just going to go to all tasks. One moment. We'll find some. It'll be a document acknowledgement task. That's how it will appear in your task box. So each individual who has to acknowledge this document will have a document acknowledgement task. They'll know it's from the document register, and it will give them the task that they have to acknowledge. I'm just going to go to that third page there. And what I'm going to show you now is when the user clicks on that task, they'll have the access to the policy. They'll read that policy in its entirety. They'll have their task instructions here, and only that user is able to acknowledge that task. So Rachel is the CEO in this platform, and she has all user permissions. She has view all access, but even she can't do that on behalf of the staff member. Only the person that that task has been assigned to is able to acknowledge that they've read and understood that policy. Every time that you are required to check how many people have done that, you can go back to admin mode, go back to the document acknowledgement function, and run that export. That will create an Excel spreadsheet for you with all of the document acknowledgement tasks, who they're assigned to. So what is the username, the full name of the person, what group are they assigned to, what was the document, and you'll be able to see here if anyone's confirmed that they've read it. If that's the case, that will turn into yes, the confirmation date, the confirmation time, and the version of the document that they've read is here. So you can see how that will, when we automate things to reoccur annually, how that will be really useful to be able to show that the staff members read that next version of the document. Please feel free, if anyone has any questions, pop them in. I'm going to go back to our presentation because we do have some additional features that I want to make you aware of. We do have that document acknowledgement feature in that you can add to your subscription if you don't already have it. We also do have the control of documented information procedure that shows and demonstrates how Logqic helps the organisation to control and manage documents. There is the article on the knowledge base around how we create those footers to make sure that they are consistent in our documents, and how we can add them to our style guide and our gallery so that we can simply just click on it and the footer is in there. There's the article around the document register, which shows us everything about the document register, how to add, manage, approve, archive, how to set up those document acknowledgement tasks. And I also included the article around Logqic Mobile. So if you don't already have that and you want to get that document register straight into your staff's hands, click in or have a look at that article, download the apps and get onto that. And of course, there's the course around document management and the tasks associated with that in the Logqic Academy. Right. Any more questions? Any comments? If anyone does have anything, you can reach out via support. Sorry, there's a question coming. Yeah, it is possible to update the version of a document. No, actually, Jawad, it's not. When you upload a new version of the document, Logqic will update the version. That's why it's really essential when you do add a new document to Logqic to tell Logqic which version it is that you're uploading, so that Logqic can manage that version control for you moving forward. It is incremental until that version is approved, and only then will it take the next whole number. Any other questions? If you need support, please reach out at support@logqic.com.au. If you want any more information about document acknowledgement or about controlling your documents, you can reach out to us at customersuccess@logqic.com.au. And you can expect this printout and the recording to be sent to you soon. If no one has any more questions, I'd just like to say thank you so much for being here. Have a great day, everyone. See ya.